are waiting to join. One of them is Vinay Babu, our classmate. He is joining us from Cambodia. He is a advisor to the government of Cambodia on healthcare. He was formerly with the WHO. He gave a wonderful talk on the history of pandemics a few months ago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 149th monthly meeting of FOSWL. And as we have quite a number of new people as usual, FOSWL stands for Friends on Same Wavelength. On behalf of the President and Executive Committee of FOSWL Hyderabad chapter, I extend a very, very warm welcome to all of you. And this is a very special meeting. Every meeting of ours is to commemorate the life and work of somebody who has distinguished himself or herself. In addition, the May month is to cherish the memory of Sri M.L. Swami and his wife, Mrs. Rangamani Swami. Mr. Swami was the first ever engineering chief of the then combined state of Andhra Pradesh, and he has done some exemplary work in the field of irrigation in the post-independence era. He founded, along with a few friends, FOSWL in Cupertino, California in the year 2000. And he has single-handedly and passionately, with a single-minded focus, drove its growth to several chapters, most of which are in India. And FOSWL Hyderabad happens to be the first international chapter of FOSWL. And this meeting is an endowment lecture in the memory of Mr. M.L. Swami and Mrs. Rangamani Swami. So I'm particularly happy to welcome their daughter, Sucharita Pokala, and their family members and friends. We hold Sri Swami in very high regard in all chapters. And I had requested Ambassador Vinay to spare us his time in this particular month so that he will truly represent what Sri Swami also was, an Indian American, so to say, after his retirement. So thank you very much, Ambassador Vinay. It's a pleasure to have you, and we extend a very warm welcome to you. And welcome to all the other guests and participants. We have about 61 now. I will admit other people as we go along. May I now call upon Sri Dinesh Bajaj, who's one of the first members of FOSWL Cupertino, who's joined us from California, to read the prayer to kick off our meeting proceedings. Dinesh ji, please unmute yourself.
Good morning from California, and thank you so much for inviting me, Subbarao-ji. I am really impressed how great a group you have here, and it's wonderful to see Sucharita Pokala also here. I did have the pleasure of working with Mr. Swami from 2000 onwards, and he was a personal hero of mine. I watched him coming from India. I mean, I've been in this country for a long time, but seeing a new immigrant come without, knowing the system, he created an organization with total passion, commitment, with his own dollars. And it was just amazing to see how he would take buses from one area to the other to go to places and make sure that we have high quality sessions. So, and we are continuing to maintain that tradition in his honor. And it's my pleasure to read I was introduced to this prayer written by Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore-ji. It's called Heaven of Freedom. And I'm going to read it in English first. And then somebody mentioned, why not do it in Hindi? And when I heard it in Hindi, it was even more impressive in my mind. So I'm going to start with the English version, and then I'll do the Hindi version after that. So here it goes. When the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where the knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into that dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Now the Hindi version, and I will, this, all right. जहां मन भय से मुक्त हो और मस्तक सम्मान से उठा हो, जहां ज्ञान स्वतंत्र हो, जहां संसार संकीर्ण घरेलू दीवारों में के टुकड़ों में न तोड़ा गया हो, जहां विचार सच्चाई की गहराई से उपजते हों, जहां अथक प्रयास अपनी बाहें पूर्णता की ओर बढ़ाते हों, जहां विवेक की निर्मल धारा अंधविश्वासों के मरूथल नकारात्मक रेत में न खो गई हो, जहां मन आपसे प्रेरित होकर निरंतर प्रगतिशील विचारों और कर्मठता की ओर बढ़ता हो, उस स्वतंत्रता के स्वर्ग में हे परमात्मा मेरे देश को जागृत कर, मेरे देश को जागृत कर. Thank you, Subbarao ji, for giving me the opportunity.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Dinesh ji. Before we move on, let me welcome Vellanki Rao Garu. He has joined us from Hyderabad. Nice to have you. Then Air Commodore Arora, who heads the Apollo Life in the Apollo Hospitals, Jubilee Hills. Welcome. We have Dr. Sudhir Kumar, who did yeoman work along with Mr. G.M. Pillai in the renewable energy sector in India. He has joined us. Welcome. And we have Srinivas from a general manager with the Visakhapatnam Steel Plant joining us from there. We have Sriram Uppalapati, a neighbor here and a childhood friend. We knew this family for a long time. Somashekar Ganti, welcome. Seshu Babu, I mentioned your name. I know you're joining from Cambodia. Sashi is an advocate and she has joined us from Hyderabad. If I missed some of you, please pardon me because you may have joined a little later. Well, a few years ago when Obama became the president, the newspapers in India and especially in Hyderabad were all gaga about an Indian American being appointed an ambassador to the nation. So in a short while, we will listen to the fascinating journey of our distinguished speaker for this evening. But before that, let us hear of the passion and inspiration that Mr. Swami, with which he founded FOSWL, and the way he nurtured it like a baby to where it is today. And to do this, who is better than his daughter, Sucharita, who's joined us from Cupertino. Sucharita, can you please unmute yourself, switch on your video, and speak a few words about your parents?
I just, sorry for interjecting.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead. The rest of you, can you please mute yourself?
Namaste. I am Sucharita. I'm the daughter of Mr. M.L. Swami, who founded this organization. My brother also joined this meeting today. I don't think it's necessary to reintroduce my father again because you all know him very well. But I will say a few words for the sake of new members of FOSWL who is joining this meeting today. He was born in 1925 and graduated from Guindy College in Madras as civil engineer. He held many posts during his career and retired as engineering chief in 1983. Um, he excelled in every post and any project he has taken up. Some of the known projects are Sri Salem Dam, and also in Dhavaleshwaram, when I was born, he was in charge of the barrage, Godavari barrage details. He was revered by all his colleagues and seniors for his honesty and hard work, which kind of showed later in his FOSWL work also. After his retirement, he held jobs such as liaison to World Bank and others, and very busy for a few years. My mother, Mrs. Rangamani, who was a housewife, led very active social life. She took care of all our educational needs and raised us. Actually, even though she only did 12th grade, which is intermediate, she used to help us in studies a lot. And they both are very charitable, and they mostly worked on the educational causes of poor kids that they know in Hyderabad. So in 1994, they moved to USA and they started a new chapter in their life. Instead of sitting at home and complaining, they adapted to new life by learning about computers or driving in USA. Actually, my mom, at age of 65 to 70, she got driver's license at that time, and she used to drive also. They tried to lead their own lives without any help, our help, in a new country at the age of 75. I remember celebrating his 75th birthday when he got the citizenship also at the same year. That's when they actually found a senior center, which is mostly attended by Indian community, and realized the need for activities for people who came from India and settled there. So there are lots of activities in there, and one of them is FOSWL. That's how FOSWL started, and the rest is history. I know everybody knows about how he started this and improved it. There's so many times, so many meetings, it was told. So I'm going to skip that, but I'm going to tell my thoughts about it. As you know, within few weeks, it will be 3 years since my father passed away. But when I see my mailbox filled with invitations from FOSWL, our FOSWL groups from India and USA, I feel that he's very much alive and still organizing this program. Although he started this program in USA just to make himself busy, soon his focus changed to make senior people like all of you to enrich your knowledge with new technologies, current affairs, accompanied by history and spirituality. When I see the variety of lectures being offered, especially in Hyderabad FOSWL, I always think how proud he would have been if he were here. He always wanted to invite prominent people for lectures, even though they're not within his reach. Like one time he tried to invite Governor of California, and it didn't pan out that time. He would have been very happy to see the Governor of Andhra Pradesh attended the Hyderabad FOSWL meeting. Also, he wanted a global FOSWL where all members would interact with each other globally. Now this has been possible with the Zoom meetings that you are all conducting and letting others to attend. He would have been elated to see this. I know because I lived with him and his whole life is FOSWL. Other than FOSWL, there's nothing he was actually focusing or doing anything. I'm sure Dinesh Bajaj will vouch for it for me. I'm very happy to see that you're all continuing his dream, and he doing all these lectures. Lecturers are in very prominent people in their fields, and sometimes I attend those, and they're very interesting topics. I'm very thankful to Sri Subbarao Garu for giving me this opportunity to express my feelings, and I wish you well with your future meetings. For people who are new, actually there is a picture behind me with both of them smiling at all of you. Thank you.
Sucharita.
Namaste.
Namaskaram. I think a lot of people on this call in this meeting have very fond memories of the affection and the infectious enthusiasm with which Swamiji endeared himself to one and all, as Sucharita, his daughter, has said. And in addition to what she said, I'd also like to mention that his grandson, Vikas Pokala, is also actively participating. He participates in some of our meetings, and especially in the 250th meeting of FOSWL Cupertino, he spoke about his granddad as well. So we hope that the Swami legacy will continue through the generations and keep up the spirit. Thank you again, Sucharita, and we are all very happy that you could join us, and also your brother. Just a couple of announcements before we move on to the next one. Today is also a very significant day that Sri M.L. Swami's endowment lecture is being held on the birthday of Sir Arthur Cotton. He is worshipped like a god in parts of Andhra Pradesh for the bountiful water he has provided for irrigation through his projects. And on this call, we have a person who was directly associated with that project, much later, of course, Ramaraju, also from our college, whom Vinay may recall. He retired as an engineer-in-chief, and he is an authority on irrigation disputes between states. And one of the FOSWL meetings, we'll probably have him talk. And so it's also a happy coincidence that in the month of May, which is an endowment lecture of Sri Swami, which happens to be the month in which their anniversary falls. 9th of May, if I'm correct, Sucharita? 9th of May, right. So I'm very happy this happy coincidence just happened. Before we move on, let me welcome another young person, Dr. Aishwarya Rajiv. She has joined us from Hyderabad now, but she is a professor in a dental college in Jaipur. Vikram Balakrishna, welcome from Bangalore.
Thank you.
We have Dr. Sudhir Kumar from Pune. And Ramegaru, welcome to you. Ram Mahendran has joined us from Coimbatore. We have Kumar Subramanian and Rambhadran from Bangalore. Murali, welcome to you. You're also joined from Bangalore. I see Latha, Sushil's wife, has joined us as well from Alabama. Kiran Kurupati, welcome to you, Kiran. He has joined us from upstate New York. Kumaran, welcome to you. And yet another classmate, Vinay, of ours, Narasimha Rao. He retired as a very distinguished professor in Indian Institute of Science very recently. We should have him talk in one of our meetings as well.
Hi.
Hi, Narasimha. Welcome. Sorry I missed you the last time.
Hello.
We are joined by Mr. Rajaram Krishnaswamy, a renowned project management professor at formerly managing director of Thermax Group companies from Pune. And V.S. Sudhakar, a chartered accountant and a good friend from Hyderabad. So welcome to all of you. Please pardon me if I missed out recognizing anybody. And as I said, to tell us about the very fascinating and interesting journey, distinguished speaker for today, Ambassador Vinay Thummalapally, may I call upon Kaustubh Tipirneni, who's joined us from New Jersey, to tell us about the fascinating journey of Vinay. Kaustubh, over to you.
Thanks, Dad.
You're not audible. I think we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, that's right. We can.
Ambassador Vinay, forgive me if I don't do a good job. I got my second dose of Pfizer yesterday, so I had try to do my best. From an aspiring engineer student from Hyderabad who was keen on pursuing a degree in the United States,
Kaustubh,
very key contributor.
You're fading away for some reason. Can you please repeat?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, right.
From an aspiring engineering student from Hyderabad who was keen on pursuing a degree in the United States, to being a key contributor to the success of Barack Obama and his presidential campaign in 2008, Ambassador Vinay Thummalapalli's journey is an inspiring one. A true Hyderabadi, Vinay is the son of Mr. T. Dharma Reddy, a retired scientist who worked for the Andhra Pradesh Forensic Science Laboratory, and Mrs. T. Padmaja. On a personal note, Vinay went to the same school that my dad's sister and I graduated from, the Hyderabad Public School, Begumpet. He was then the classmate of my father in the RV College of Engineering in Bangalore for 2 years before he moved to the US in 1974. Vinay is earned a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and completed his postgraduate studies in Business Administration from the Cal State University in 1980. He honed his professional skills by obtaining a diploma in lean production systems when lean manufacturing was just about to change the manufacturing landscape in the United States. It was during his time in California that he met, became good friends with, and became roommates with eventually with Barack Obama, who he still refers to as Barry to this day. They watched basketball games together, discussed the geopolitical issues of the day, and often enjoyed a South Indian meal, which Vinay and his cousin would cook. Ambassador Vinay still recalls Obama's passionate inclination towards public service and helping the disadvantaged. In the summer of 1980, they became college roommates and remained in touch even though Obama moved to New York to attend the Columbia University in 1981. Vinay and his wife Barbara attended Barack and Michelle Obama's wedding, and they played a key role in Obama's 2008 campaign by fundraising nearly $200,000. Ambassador Vinay played an extremely significant role in the recent elections that the Biden administration has won. During Obama's presidency, Ambassador Vinay was appointed as the US ambassador to Belize, the only Central American country with English as its official language. His wife Barbara delayed a new teaching career to volunteer for Obama's presidential campaign. Vinay, Barbara, and their kids Vishal and Sharanya were VIP guests at Obama's inauguration ceremony and ball. President Obama appointed him ambassador to Belize in 2009, where he served until 2013. In his role as Chief of Mission, Ambassador Tumulupalli helped strengthen the bilateral relationship between the United States and Belize in the areas of citizen security, economic development, education, and healthcare. In addition, he found innovative ways to engage regional and international organizations and other embassies to promote the same. He served as an executive director of SelectUSA from 2013 to 2017. It's a part of the International Trade Administration of the US Department of Commerce. Established by an executive order of the President, SelectUSA is the US government-wide initiative to attract and retain business investment in the United States. As executive director, Ambassador Tumulupalli managed the strategy and implementation of SelectUSA to help create jobs, spur economic growth, and promote American competitiveness. He also co-chaired with the director of the White House National Economic Council, the SelectUSA Interagency Investment Working Group, to coordinate resources across the federal government to promote business investment and address federal regulatory barriers. Ambassador Thummalapally is presently the CEO of Cortex Life Sciences LLC, a company dedicated to bringing high-quality pharmaceutical products to the US market. He brings a wealth of experience from both the private and public sectors. He has had a distinguished 31-year career in the private sector. Prior to joining the Foreign Service, he served as the president of MAMA, which was formerly known as Mitsui Advanced Media. Mitsui Advanced Media was the nation's leading manufacturer and distributor of archival recordable optical discs, CDs, DVDs, and other optical devices. During his 14-year tenure, the company became the benchmark of optical disc manufacturing industry in the United States. Earlier in his career, Ambassador Tumulupalli also served as the plant manager for WEA Manufacturing, a division of Time Warner. The managing director for clients printing and office products, and also the manufacturing manager of Disc Manufacturing, Inc. In addition to holding the 2 US patents for design of optical disc manufacturing, he has received several outstanding service awards for his professional accomplishments. It is my pleasure and an absolute honor to introduce Ambassador Vinay Thummalapally. I look forward to learning why the US still remains the preferred destination for investment and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaustubh, for introducing Ambassador Thummalapally to us all. Just in case our distinguished speaker is wondering why we have so many young people in what was said to be a senior citizens forum founded by my father, Mr. Venkateswara Pirneni, in 2009. In the last nearly about 6
I think we lost connection of Subbarao-ji here.
Yeah, I think we lost him for a minute.
Yeah, we lost it. Is everybody else still can hear me here?
Yes.
Yes, uncle. My dad is just going to be back in just like 2 minutes. I think the power went off and on. So just give him like a minute. I'm sure he'll be back.
Sure.
Uh,
Welcome, Vinay uncle. I think me and dad was speaking yesterday very fondly about memories when you and me met in India, if I'm not wrong, at the SelectUSA club.
Yeah. I remember.
Vinayji, you want to start your talk while we are waiting for him? We could use the time. That's
Kaustubh's introduction was actually good recollection of the timelines and so on. But I do want to, not necessarily to be overly humble or modest, but just point out some facts that Kaustubh conveniently omitted. And this is something Subbu and so many folks on the line today, such as Buchi Prasad and so many other friends know. I wasn't particularly a very attentive student. So it goes way back. They know it. They probably are saying, oh my goodness, what exactly happened here? How did this fellow get to where he is? It's a very modest beginning, just sort of circumstances and environment and really opportunities that came my way that helped me to what I consider still trying to be a useful human being. So if I could just continue on, okay, or should we wait for Subbu? What would you suggest?
I'm back.
I think you can continue.
Oh,
I'm
there you
back. I had a power blip and it took a few seconds to come back. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. So I was speaking, Subbu, but if you want to say a few words, that's fine. Otherwise, I can continue.
No, please continue. Go ahead.
What you missed was maybe a strain of humility or something, but the way Kaustubh talked about me, my background, where I am, how I got here, just a reality check. Folks such as yourself, Subbu, and Buchi Prasad, and so many other classmates of ours, no, I wasn't particularly an attentive student. I was more interested in sports and playing football and all those things. But quite a few things sort of fell into place that kept me from going off track, is how I would like to characterize it. And friends such as yourself, so many of those who are on the line today and many who are not in the rest of my life, my family, had so much to do and continue to play a big role in bringing out the best in me as I'm trying myself. So it's, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Subbu, for this wonderful event. I'm very impressed. I mean, that's an understatement as to the folks who are on the line today, what they have accomplished. And I'm just delighted and honored to be part of this discussion. If it's okay with you, I would want it to be a beginning of something rather than just an event of us getting on the phone, on the video call today, because there'll be a lot of questions that would come up. Although today's topic has to do with investment, in the US being sort of the preferred destination for investment. I want to look at it in a bigger way, more holistic way. Right now, the world is experiencing a horrible pandemic. India, US, and Brazil are all facing a tremendous cloud, if you will, a dark cloud that's taking its toll. If you want to talk a little bit of that in the future, I could participate and talk a little bit about it as to what we are doing today. So coming back, sort of introducing myself, I think Kaustubh really covered it very thoroughly. In fact, I want that text because I want to share it with my wife and my kids.
I will send it to you.
Very well put together because, not just the sequence, but the spirit in which it was put together. it is accurate. It's just conveniently omitted some of my faux pas and my shortcomings, but that's okay. You don't have to bring it up. More recently, 2009, the ambassadorship clearly was a big honor. I'm the first US ambassador of Indian origin in the US history. Such a tremendous honor. It's almost like I don't deserve it type of a thing. But I did try to step up to the plate and represent my family, my community. I'm proud to have my background, so to speak, as to who I am. A Telugu speaker, Hyderabad, more importantly, Indian American. So I went with my instincts essentially all along. I remember very clearly in 2007 when President Obama, then Senator Obama, announced his run for the presidential bid. My wife and I threw our support behind him, and many friends, including my own extended family, said, "Why are you wasting your time?" They said, America is not ready for an African-American president. Things of that nature. So that didn't deter me at all. So to this day, I do things that people say, do you really want to spend time on that? Shouldn't you be spending time on this? Because this has more promise, so on. But so far, it served me well. So if I could just fast forward for the topic of today, which is investment opportunities and so on, it has to do with SelectUSA. SelectUSA was just more of an idea in 2011. It wasn't until 2013 that at the time, Commerce Secretary, it's a cabinet position, her name is Penny Pritzker. I had known her from previous years because we worked on the campaign. She recruited me. She said, your ambassadorship is coming to an end. I would like your help to build a program called SelectUSA. Essentially, it is similar to Invest India. So promoting foreign direct investment into the United States from all over the world. And the idea was, listening to the president, the idea was to help companies from all over the world to come and invest in the United States, not necessarily or not limited to the benefit of the United States. What I mean by that is, if SelectUSA is helping to attract a company from India to come to America, or from Germany or Mexico, wherever, to come to the United States, the idea is to come invest, come join us, come be part of this story for mutual benefit. Whether it's in the area of research to find the cure for the ailments that we all suffer from, could it be, hypertension, it could be heart disease, it could be cancer, now it's COVID, of course. That's the spirit that was so interesting that I got attracted to. I joined. We had no funding. The Congress had not given us any money. I was working with three, what they call detailees, which is people we borrowed from other departments to start building this program. Fast forward, by 2016, we had the last summit. It was the third of a series of summits we had. In 2016, President Obama was the third summit, SelectUSA summit hosted. Over 3,000 people attended. 1,200 companies from 72 countries showed up. And his speech, I sent the link to Subbu earlier. His speech is online on YouTube, I believe, in which he makes a funny introduction, which is worth watching. But later on, rest of his speech is worth listening to, because you can transpose, you can imagine any market doing it, any country doing it. India can do it. A European country, a Latin American country, an African country can do it. You can essentially talk about their respective countries or localities in the same spirit of doing things that are for mutual benefit. So just wanted to mention that being a success in my career, I still remain engaged in that space of helping Indian companies grow. In fact, I'm on the board currently of a company many of you may be familiar with. It's Cyient. It's based in Hyderabad, formerly known as Infotech. The chairman, the former chairman, recruited me, asked me to come and join his board as an independent director. And Cyient has a wonderful story, sort of, in that it is an Indian company, but it does business, quite a bit of its business outside of India. So, for example, just in North America, they employ about 1,500 people, 1,500 people. Many of them are technical people, engineers, and so on. But in order to do that, the back office, if you will, or the team in India, mostly in Hyderabad, but not limited to Hyderabad. Cyient has offices in Bangalore, Pune, Delhi, and other places. Employs in excess of 10,000 employees. So it sort of fits the bill of what SelectUSA was. Not that it was a result of SelectUSA. Cyient has been in business for much longer than SelectUSA as a program. But Cyient is the epitome or an example of what I'm talking about, where an Indian company going outside its borders, out of India, doing business for mutual benefit. So just wanted to mention that, not necessarily a plug for Cyient, but just to give you a little bit of background. I'm still on the board, delighted to be part of that team, and they do good work. As I mentioned earlier, I want this to be a start of something, so I'm very interested in staying in touch with the attendees to continue any part of the conversation, or could be things that are not covered today that you may have some interest. I do want to touch on a few things. One is, in 2013, I started with the Commerce Department after 4 years of being in the State Department. So these are just federal agencies. State Department runs the Foreign Service. Commerce Department runs the commercial aspects of the US government. So I joined the Commerce Department in 2013 and finished my work with the federal government in January of 2017. My role in federal government for 7.5 years, roughly 7 years and 4 months, is what they call political appointments. We're not necessarily subject matter experts, or we're not career people, but we are political appointees where the president appoints people to support his or her agenda. So that's what political appointees is. So since 2017, I've been engaged in some private consulting, in addition to being on a few boards, including, of course, Cyient. I did some consulting work for a Japanese company to do plastic mitigation work. So that sort of got put on hold after the pandemic hit last year, unfortunately, because the priorities for the company changed. But there was one area I thought would be of interest, and I want to talk about it, and that is very specifically, if I can sort of zero in on this topic of the day, which is why is the US, or not necessarily why the US remaining the preferred destination for investment. And a few words come to my mind. It has to do with risk. What I'm referring to is risk that people take, and how does the ecosystem of a particular location or locality or county, city, county, state, federal government, whatever, what is the prevailing culture? So if you look at the attitudes towards risk, what comes to my mind is the tolerance or the acceptance of failure is what I'm wanting to talk a little bit about. That level of willing to accept somebody not succeeding and continuing on and not being shamed, not being ridiculed, not being put down, not losing your creditworthiness or your reputation, and so on. It's really important, I wanted to talk about. I think India has a fair level of acceptance of that, but it could do more. I think it's a traditional thinking is, if you look at our own families, my own family, I don't have to go outside my family, my own family, the risk that I'm willing to take is higher than the risk my parents took or their parents took. I remember conversations of, what are you going to study? What are you interested in? You know, at the dinner table or whenever we got to talk when I was growing up. Mom, particularly mom, would say, do something that'll get you a job and have a steady income so you can have a good family, you can have a good level of financial independence and a good position in society, and so on and so forth. All of those things, nobody can argue, are of value. Nobody can argue against those. But today, if I look at my son and my daughter, their attitudes are, their level of appetite, I should say, their appetite for risk is significantly higher than mine. They're willing to switch jobs or do things differently. Even in college, my son changed a couple of times his sort of focus on studies. Started off in physics, ended up with engineering undergrad. Then he worked for Infosys and later with Accenture, then abruptly quit and went to do his MBA and does something totally different today. He doesn't do those things he studied in NYU for his MBA. He's a data scientist. Recently with, in fact, he's in the process of switching from Facebook to a new company called Roblox. My point is, coming back to my point is, the prevailing culture in the United States for a number of reasons over the years, decades, you know, even more than, you know, maybe 100, 200 years, the tolerance for risk is very high. And I think it's one of the foundations for the ability to attract investment from other parts of the world to come here. The ability to secure partnerships with others who are like-minded people in your field, whether you're in, regardless of what your sector is. It could be renewable energy, it could be teaching, it could be Internet of Things, it could be artificial intelligence, it could be data science, it could be medicine, it could be research in pharma, on and on and on and on. Regardless of what your interest is, to find like-minded people, to connect with those people, whether it's in research or whether it's a startup or whether it's trying to raise capital to promote your enterprise, you can find those people easier the hurdles are less in the US than in many parts of the world. The ecosystems of sort of the incubators and the startups that are there in so many towns in the United States. It's not just Silicon Valley where research is taking place or startups are happening. There's so many, literally dozens of cities today. Austin, Texas, the Research Triangle in the North Carolina, Chattanooga, Tennessee was recently voted as the best connected infrastructure connected city. It's a tiny little town in Tennessee. So many places in the United States have ecosystems where you can do research or you can do a startup and so on. 15 out of the top 20 universities in the world are in the United States. Something like 25 to 26% of the entire research and development expenditures in the world happen in the United States. So there's a number of things we can talk about. In terms of to give more material to, if you're interested to follow up on understanding more of the subject matter, SelectUSA.gov, just the way it says, the word select, SelectUSA.gov is an excellent resource for what has kind of been built since 2013. I don't take credit for it. It's a number of people that contributed to this. And it's one of the programs that survived the 4 years of tornado, as I call it, a political and social tornado that took place from 2017 to 2020, also known as the Trump administration. So coming out of the previous few years, where 2013 to 17, SelectUSA came together in a nice way. It survived the 4 years and actually has done well under the leadership of the former Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross. So that's a good resource. SelectUSA.gov can give you some good ideas. Any place, Andhra, Telangana, Maharashtra, it doesn't matter whether it's a regional or a state or a central government initiative, can pick some lessons that are relevant to their efforts if they want to promote this type of work, which is how to make your locality more attractive for investment. That's sort of how I want to finish. I don't know how much time I have, Subbu, but I wanted to just bring up these things. Once again, it's such a delight. I do want to bring up a side thing that I did that's not connected to today's topic. And that is in 2018, I have to say I had some free time on my hand from 2017 January. So it took us about more than a year to launch a program called IMPACT. It's short for Indian American, it's not an acronym, Indian American Impact Project. The entity we brought together promotes Indian Americans to run for public office, meaning whether a young lady wants to become a member of the school board in some small school board in the United States, or a lady who wants to be the president of the United States, like Vice President Kamala Harris. So that we founded that. I'm a founding board member of that organization. We can talk about that in more detail. But for the attendees today, what may be more of interest is the work that we are doing on addressing the pandemic, specifically assisting the efforts on the ground in India. To date, we have raised, I won't go into details, but several $1 million through donations. And we have purchased, started delivery of over 7,000 oxygen concentrators. We're working on a number of other side events, meaning PPE and vaccines, where our current push this week, last week, and this week is to push the United States federal government to do much more to help India. It's not really helping India, it's helping the world, really, is to take vaccines and augment India's production of vaccines to accelerate the rate at which Indian nationals are being vaccinated against this horrible pandemic, a horrible virus. So I've been on it for several weeks now. This is off the topic, but I wanted to talk about it because of the seriousness of the challenge that we're all facing. And I'll be happy to do offline discussions with any one of you, and I mean that sincere. My cell phone will be made available to you. My email will be made available to you. Subbu, you have full, we're all in this together. So anything I can do in my limited capacity to move, sort of bend the arc in the direction of improvement, I'm willing to do my best. So with that, I invite any questions, anything on the lighter side of life. If you want to know what else is going on in my life, I visit Hyderabad. I used to visit Hyderabad very frequently. I had to cancel. This is the time I was going to be in Hyderabad at this time. Well, actually, I was going to come back on the 11th, but I had a 4-week visit to Hyderabad that I had to cancel because of the pandemic. But I do come to Hyderabad frequently. My next visit to Hyderabad, Subbu, please promise me that you'll bring as many of these folks who are on the call for a face-to-face. That would be something I would absolutely look forward to. With that, I will stop at this point, and I'm available, obviously, to continue this.
Great. You have a few minutes more, Vinay, if you would like to continue, but then we can also invite questions. And please, as per our process, please type in your questions into the chat box, and we'll be happy to pose them. And while that's being done, I'd like to welcome and introduce to all of you Mrs. Indira Narayan, who's joined us. And also a gentleman who's popularly known as J.D. Lakshmi Narayana. Mr. V.V. Lakshmi Narayana is a former joint director of CBI, who spoke at one of our FOSWL meetings, gave us an excellent talk, and he is, Vinay, this may be of interest to you, almost single-handedly, along with people like Jaiprakash Narayan, are trying to reform our political electoral processes in India. It's a hard and long-drawn battle, but Lakshmi Narayana is in the forefront of it. He was so in his career as an IPS officer, and is continuing to do that, even now. So welcome to both of you. Well, there's a question which says, if you can give us a perspective, your reading on the Biden administration's support to India, especially in light of Kashmir, the NRC farmer issues. How do you see the Biden administration holding hands or walking together with the Indian government at this point of time?
So it's a complex issue because of the perspectives, but if I can go to the end of how I feel very strongly is, regionally, when you look at Pakistan, its politics, China, its politics, the whole geopolitical situation in South Asia, India is the natural partner for America, for United States. Having said that, many of my friends here have talked about it, and I talk to my family, my friends in India. There's some hard feelings because the Democrats, particularly Biden and myself, I'm a Democrat. My party has been very critical of India in the Kashmir matter and also the CAA matter in general. So that's created some tough feelings in that. Do you support India? Indians saying to America, do you support India or do you not support India? I don't think it's that simple of a question to answer in that sort of framing, I think. Answers that come back to me from senior people in the State Department are, we're joined at the hip. India and US are joined at the hip. We're on the same side of history, story, what have you. But it's almost like a family, and having arguments and discussions and debate is how the State Department wants to frame it. So it's a complex issue. They talk about Kashmir as an internal matter. It's not an international matter per se. Having said that, they want to see, Biden administration wants to see how India is managing sort of basic citizens' rights and so on and so forth, whether it's access to internet, access to social media, and so on and so forth. When those things are limited, it goes against the grain of democratic principles, democratic governance, and so on and so forth. So that's the source of where the tension is coming from. But it's not going to sort of mushroom into some kind of a source of a cause for sort of moving away from each other. I just don't see it. I can't even imagine it, because what is United States looking at? Pakistan, China. So they just, to me, they're two completely separate stories. So when you hear, U.S. government, particularly the Democratic administration, Biden administration, and officials from the State Department making statements that are often not necessarily complimentary, they're critical of India's moves over the last so many months, last few years, couple of years. So that's really where it's coming from. But I think I really want to go back to the end point, which is we are natural partners, have been for a very long time. And I don't see that changing at all. So I think the Quad group, I'm sure you all know this, US, India, Japan, and Australia. I think that's going to continue to grow in a big way. So I see, I'm not an expert in this space, to be honest, but I only see things improving and getting better. But there has been some tension, and continue to be, honestly, in the way how things were done here. For example, over the 4 years of Trump administration, there were lots of things that the world looked at us and said, hey, this doesn't make sense. Whether they understood it in its entirety or not, Kashmir matter is very complex. I'm not an expert to talk about it. Same thing with the CAA, the citizenship law, but there has been a fair amount of criticism coming, not just from the United States, but from the sort of the democratic world, if I could say that. I know that's not an answer, but it's the closest thing I can say on that topic.
Thank you, Ambassador Vinay. The next question is from Kaustav from New Jersey, and he says, what are your thoughts on how do you think the pandemic and distance learning, what will be the impact on innovation in various incubators, in universities and other bodies which are involved in innovation? Now, this 1.5 year almost of pandemic, how do you see the impacting innovation in the US?
I see it, great question, Kaustav. I see it as a silver lining on a horrible cloud, black cloud. What's happened? Look at this. Look, we're all on a video call from participants from essentially all over the world. This is how easy it has become to meet people on video, for example. So I think the pandemic has played a role, a positive role. I know it's hard to say that because it's taking so many lives and it's disrupting so many people, turning their lives upside down. But I'm being very sort of analytical and very cold about it. Through this difficult time over the last year plus, the ability to connect across the globe with people has become easier. To present your ideas for collaborative work, again, for all the things that innovation, the word innovation is used for. I think it's easier and it can be done with less expense. So what that means is you're bringing the hurdle, you're bringing the level of difficulty down for smaller entities to get onto a bigger screen or bigger space to explain what you're trying to do and how you're going to go about it. What is your business plan? What is your idea? What has your research shown? And share those ideas with others who have potentially common interests. So I think it's been helpful, Kaustav. That's my read. And there's other things. I think the emphasis that this has put on the world to act together rather than differently has been stronger. Not everybody has taken advantage of it. United States has made big mistakes at least in the beginning, I'm sort of looking at the beginning of 2020, where our administration literally disconnected from the World Health Organization. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the moves that the federal government, the United States federal government made, but these are big mistakes, in my opinion. But many of those mistakes are being very quickly sort of reset and addressed. WHO is just an example, but there are other global institutions that we are trying to come back together as a single species. And so I think it's that is another angle. I think the pandemic has helped, is for us to think more broadly as to what's common good rather than what's good for the individual or the department, for the country, in its in singularity. But great question. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question says, many in India believe that India has great potential on many fronts. The only thing that is stopping us from unleashing our abilities is corrupt politics. What are your views on how this compares with the political systems and processes in the US? Are politics very clean in US and that is why it is able to progress? Or is it some other factors which impact this? How do you compare and contrast the political processes and systems in the two countries?
Wow, that's a tough question. I feel like it's way above my pay grade, but for people, let me explain personally how I feel, and maybe that may be helpful, because I'm clearly not qualified to answer it in a very sort of a sophisticated way. When I came to the United States, I was still a teenager, 19. After my second year in RV, I came here, Subu, Buchi knows that time. I came here and, I found institutions at all levels, nobody talked about corruption. There's no retail corruption. For example, a policeman, I don't know, my third year or something, I was speeding. I was pulled over by a policeman, and he wrote me a ticket, I don't know, $55 or something. I didn't have the $55. So I didn't know how much money. And so I was pleading to the policeman if he could just let me go because I didn't have the money. I didn't want one thing smart. I didn't offer him any bribe. I would have been in big trouble if I did. But my point is that exchange of few seconds that I had with the police officer, and I was very upset with myself that I should not have been going over the speed limit and all that stuff. My thought was, in India, often, you give the policeman, if you get into trouble, at least not always, but many times you can give something on the side and he'll let you go. So that was one experience that comes to my mind. But I was watching, in general, things kind of fell into place. You go for a permit, you go for a license, you go for this, you go for that. Things kind of run very smoothly. But for many years in the US, I thought, US was just better off because there's no corruption here. It's not pervasive. It's there, but maybe there, I don't understand it. But fast forward to today, after being connected to politics and understanding the depth of how people have influence, companies, corporations, groups, associations have influence, political influence. I'm not sure if there's a huge difference between an Indian system and an American system anymore. And people on the call and others may disagree with me, but I see things happen here. It's less visible. For example, how leaders are elected, how leaders keep their positions and all those things, how political money is raised. I remember a conversation with President Obama, then Senator Obama, in 2007 at a fundraiser in New York. And he said to me, literally 4 people standing there. It was a fundraiser. I remember, I don't know what we raised at that event, but some wealthy people my family had connections to. He said, "This is one of the worst things I am doing." He says, "but I don't have a choice." He said, "I need to raise money to tell my story to the American public, who I am, why I'm running to become the next president. But to raise money, to beg for money," he says, it's the lowest, the worst part of my nature coming out." He said, he's apologizing to me that he feels so embarrassed to beg for money, and that he's going to use the money to tell his story, that he needs to do it that way. So that was 2007. Later on, during Obama's administration, there was a law passed. It was called Citizens United. You can look it up. I don't want to bore you with US politics, but where entities, corporations, individuals can give money for political races being completely opaque. It's referred to as, the law is called, referred to as Citizens United. It's called super PACs, where a wealthy individual can give, or any individual, any Gunda organization can give money to get a senator elected, or Congress House member elected, or a governor elected, whatever the political position is, with complete opacity. How horrible is that? In terms of, I'm talking about corruption, really, because to me, this is about corruption. So to me, India has got problems. America is not better. But I don't quite know what other factors are influencing governance, good governance, or absence of good governance. I'm not quite sure. It's above my pay scale, Subbu. I don't know how to say it, to be honest, but there is definitely corruption here. It's different. It can be called white collar, but I don't know what it is. But you don't have the type of issues. I was trying to get some. I own some small property in Hyderabad, so I was getting some license to get some waiver or something, because I was restricted to do some. I don't want to bore everybody, but you all can relate to this. Those of you who live and work and do business in India. The guys who were in charge of the permitting process, his only interest was getting a kickback. And he not only was doing it, but he made no qualms about it. He says, "You either do it or get out of my office." So that type of sort of, corruption, whatever you want to call it, inefficiency in a system, that's not here. But that doesn't mean corruption doesn't exist in America. It exists in its purest form. It's blatant, and people do it, politicians do it. The entire system, in some way or another, is rigged. But we have to work against it. We have to, those of us who want a better world for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, we want to continuously work on putting a lid on it, and to shame them, and whatever we have to do to say that if somebody has misused that, we need to bring it to the surface. And we need good media. We need transparency, governance. That's what we need to push. And I feel some of those things in India have taken a second seat to this bravado of, and we all want to feel, right, Jai Hind and all this stuff. We do, but you have to support it. Jai Hind, how are you going to say Jai Hind? You have to be clean. You have to be good. You have to be a mentor to your young people. Somebody has to be proud of you. How can they be proud of you if you are not doing the right thing? So sorry for the commentary, but there's plenty of it. I'm sorry. There's plenty of corruption here. And
That was good. The very candid.
Having known all this, I can no longer say United States is better because we have less corruption. I'm not convinced.
Right. Thank you for that. The next question is, US continues to be the world leader in innovation, though I think countries like Israel and some other countries, I'm sure, are also right there at the top in many fields. But US innovation is usually gleaned from talent gathered from all over the world. And US then controls the intellectual property of that innovation, be it pharmaceuticals or industry or healthcare or whatever. In your opinion, is this another form of economic warfare rather than pure pursuit of scientific passion for innovation? And B, how do you see this changing in the evolving geopolitical situation?
It's a great question, Subbu. I see the need for IP protection because somebody who innovates needs some protection. So there's an incentive for doing the research, spending all the resources, whether it's sweat equity or capital, venture capital money that comes into startups. There's so many pieces to this puzzle, but once a idea gets comes together in a form of having commercial value or some value that needs protection. However, if I could give a very specific example, the Biden administration expressed in the WTO recently, just 2 weeks ago, they passed essentially a position that the United States is taking that IP protection for vaccine chemistry should not have IP protection. In the WTO, we said that. It was a stunning position that the United States has taken. The reason I'm giving you that example is, it's not to say that United States doesn't believe in it. United States believes in IP protection. Every country, India does, other countries do. But could it be seen as a weapon of domination or protecting that sector? I think there's a risk, but it's the downside of it. So while it's important to protect the idea of that entity or the individual or the group that created that product or worthy of protection, because you don't want it to be copied and then it has no value. So the reason it has attracted all this talent, the brain power, the capital, whatever, to come up with this product, if it has no protection, then anybody can copy it. So therefore its value, the capital and the ideas and the brain power would not have come together to create it in the first place. So I see the benefit, but I also see a potential downside, whereas IP, historically China has not been as attentive to protecting global IP, but I think they're realizing in many respects that they don't have a choice but to do it, because IP is also being generated in China, just like it's being generated in India and everywhere. So I'm not sure if it's a good answer, but there are some areas sometimes when you need to jump that IP story and which America did. Actually, other countries are not necessarily signing up for it. In fact, Germany just said they will not support America's position. But I'm, in a way, because it's such a unique time and such an extraordinary time of this pandemic, I thought what they did was noteworthy. The Biden administration said, because the patents are here, some of the patents are here, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer are all here. AstraZeneca, which is, and others, the Chinese vaccine and the Russian vaccine are in other places. But the three of the top 6 or so vaccines are right here. And the pharmaceutical companies did not appreciate that because they spent a lot of money. The position the government took is much of that money came from the federal government. Federal government put in, I don't know the exact number, but it was tens of billions of dollars. This was last year, to accelerate the production, the completion of the 3 vaccines. So I think it gave the federal government a place, an angle to come up with the patent waiver, basically saying others can copy this, reverse engineer it, and do it. But we don't know if WTO will pass it, because of the
Thank you. The next question is from Seshu. I don't know if you remember our chemistry teacher, Mr. Venkatachari, his son.
Yeah. Oh
now
my.
in Cambodia. Yeah, he's in Cambodia, and he is the health advisor to the government of Cambodia. He has been in WHO in the public health space for quite some time. He was earlier a professor in Gandhi Medical College here, Usmani, I think. So he says, what made the Biden administration change its position on supplying the raw materials required for the vaccine production in India? Initially, there were hiccups. Serum Institute was saying that they are not getting enough raw material. And after the recent talk with Prime Minister Modi, President Biden seems to have relented and said the raw material will be supplied. So what went on and what made the change? Is Seshu's question.
I actually don't know. I don't know. Jake Sullivan is the national security advisor to President Biden. He was on the call with us, with Impact. We have quite a bit of clout now. Impact meaning Indian American Impact Project, the group that has raised money and privately doing work. We're working with Niti Aayog, with Amitabh Kant and all in Delhi to facilitate, all these things. So with that group, Jake Sullivan was on the call recently, and the first question was, this was before the Biden administration, changed the position and said, we will support Serum and others. And no, it's not limited to Serum. It's Bharat and Reddy's and everybody else. He said something that was news to us, saying that we're not aware of any restrictions, he said. I don't know if he was not informed, or I actually don't know the full story, but I'm just delighted. I am absolutely delighted that the administration is all in to figure out ways to help India. Little side note on that, Subbu. We have in stock, the federal government, roughly 60 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, which has not been approved by the Federal Drug Administration, FDA. So we're pushing, in fact, last week and this week, we're actually doing a social media campaign to have all our 3.6 million Indian Americans to call their respective Congress members, House members and members in the Senate to support shipping these vaccines, mostly to India. They're saying at least 30 million should go to India immediately because of the dire need. Yes, India is producing vaccines, but the rate at which the current capacity is so small, and the ramp-up timelines are so long to set up new lines to, increase capacity coming out of Serum, coming out of Bharat Biotech, and now Reddy's are doing the Sputnik. So we're really pushing this sort of assistance, not just saying that go help India, but you need to help India to help ourselves, because this is not going away. The mutations, the variations in how the virus changes its nature, but in nature, can become, the 617 or whatever that variation, the mutant is. That's just one mutant. I mean, there's so many variations in this. So you can't solve the problem of COVID-19 without solving it for the whole world. That's the story we are trying to communicate to the administration, and they know it. They just, I think we're at a sort of a point of change in that if you look at the demand curve and the supply curve the other way, they're going to cross within the next couple of week or 2 or 3, something like that. So now is the time for us to push. When the supply increases demand, we want to export, to India. India has actually come out and said, we don't need any favor. We will buy the vaccines from the United States and from Europe, and obviously from ourselves, from India's production itself. So it's a long answer, but we wanted to know that answer as well. Why are you stopping? This was before the administration came out all out and said, we will support. It was actually just 2 or 3 days before we were on the call with Jake Sullivan. Jake Sullivan just shook his head. He says, I'm not aware, he said, of what restrictions you're talking about. We've never had. And we specifically had items such as some filters and a few raw materials that we had prevented. There was one answer we did have. We did get, and that is of value. It says there's a thing called Defense Production Act, DPA. President Biden enacted Defense Production Act to say to US companies that you will stop what you're making and make this other thing. In Ford was making ventilators, Ford Motor Company, as an example. So the list goes on, it's a long list. But by law, DPA limits the output of these items to benefit somebody other than the US population.
I see.
By law. So they were able to override that by executive order and said, so if for example, some item is being made, could be, vaccine, could be PPA, could be something, hospital beds, it could be whatever, right? That the world needs today. India is a big focal point right now. India is clearly the one that's in the news, but there are other parts of the world actually. Brazil suddenly got behind, nobody's talking about Brazil, but the same crisis is unfolding in Brazil. And one of the health infectious disease specialists from Johns Hopkins was on the call 2 days ago, said that Africa, all of Africa, 50-some countries, 52 countries in Africa, parts of Africa are just in waiting right now to experience what India is experiencing. India's, the curve will turn, India will, improve with its targeted lockdowns that are taking place, including Hyderabad. But this person was saying that they are predicting Africa to be the next place where this, essentially a wildfire, will continue to burn. So I'm not sure, I hope I answered.
Yes, thank you. Looks like Ajay joined us. Welcome, Ajay. We are almost coming to the end, but good to see you. Ajay is Vinay's brother who stays in Hyderabad. If I may take the last question, it's almost 8 o'clock, so we'll wind up with this last question. And this, Vinay, is a personal question directed at you. And a member says, are you planning to run for senator or any other public office in the next election?
The answer is very easy. It's a no.
I mean, I think the spirit is that we'd like to see more Indian Americans, participate in the governance. But you could recommend Dinesh Ji for the next Californian senator seat. All the FOSWL chapters will support him from there, right?
Oh.
So while I said no to the question, I'm keenly interested, and I'm working continuously pretty much to help Indian Americans to run for public office. We're so proud to have been part of this story of Indian Americans rising. We currently have 140 Indian Americans in public office in the United States. And 10 years ago, we could count them on a single hand. just to in terms of the curve, it's an exponential curve, and I'm very, very proud of playing a small part in that. Thank you.
I
You
think
should open it up.
one name that I had received some, mails and messages was about Hiral Tipirneni, who contested as senator, if I am right, in Nevada.
House. From Arizona. So
Arizona, yeah.
Hiral Tipirneni ran for office to become a member of the House of Representatives, and she narrowly lost, but we were behind her in a big way. But we're proud. We're so proud of Indian Americans stepping up to the plate. Lots of young people coming, and many who lost in elections are actually finding other very interesting positions in public service. The most recent one was Ronnie Chatterjee, who ran for state treasurer in North Carolina, was just announced as the chief economist of the Department of Commerce. This week, earlier this week. So that's just one example. So the 140 positions I mentioned are actually elected positions. They got elected to public office. School boards, county, state, and federal government.
Excellent. So we'll end this. I have one personal suggestion or request as you take it, Ambassador Vinay. You mentioned to us about impact that you're a founder of and actively involved in to help India in the pandemic. Taking a cue from the last statement you made just now, why don't you consider putting together a similar organization which will bring together the younger generation of Indian Americans who are probably in their 30s right now and groom them for positions in governance in the US, maybe 10 years down the line. There could be interns with folks like you or with Obama or Biden or Kamala Harris or something. Create some opportunities for them in a structured way.
Yeah.
I know my wife's cousin came from Canada and spent 2 months with the Obama campaign as an intern. So just leaving a thought with you, if that's something that can be thought of by people like you to rally the younger group of Indian Americans so that they can be the future potential candidates to run for public offices in the US.
What a great idea, Subbu. I'd be happy to talk more offline.
Thank you. So it was great. And I can't say, I'm sure you must be seeing some of the appreciative messages in the chat. I'm sorry I had power outage twice, which tells you that you had to be grounded. We are participating from Hyderabad, so power cuts are still there. You get that feel of home. But thank you so much, Ambassador Vinay, for joining us early in the morning for you. And for many of us from HPS and RV College of Engineering, it's a delight to reconnect with you. And as you can see, quite a number of folks from both these institutions have made it a point to come. And all of us as Indians feel very proud and very happy at, though you humbly say, the opportunities that came your way. So and also thank you very much for your very specific offer to remain engaged with members of FOSWL. Most certainly, once the pandemic is over, we'll have you back in a physical meeting so you could meet and see and speak to all of us. Thank you so much. Just before I call on our secretary, Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose, who is a former superintendent from the CBI, to give the vote of thanks, I just want to inform our members that we have been meeting regularly along with Dinesh Ji and Uma Seshadri Garu and others in what is called as the FOSWL Global Strategy Group. Essentially 2 people from each chapter of FOSWL. And from our chapter, our Joint Secretary, Mr. Somasekhar Rao, and I represent. What we are trying to accomplish is to bring more cohesiveness, communication and cooperation and collaboration between all the chapters of FOSWL. We kicked it off a few months ago, and we are now on a steady state, and quite a number of initiatives that you see are a result of that. I'll give you two examples. You've seen Mr. Dinesh ji give the prayer. He's from another chapter in US, so involving other chapters. Second initiative is to reduce the average age of our membership. So if you have seen on today's call, there are a lot of folks who are in their 30s and 40s, both attendees as well as in our office bearers. We have made a conscious decision because my father, who's the founder president, is 92. We have several members who are in their 90s and 80s. So we want to build the next generation, much like I've just requested Vinay to do that for the US politics. FOSWL also is going through that consolidation phase and strengthening. And we have had wonderful ideas from folks like Dinesh ji, Uma Seshadri, Dr. Harihar Iyer, Dr. Sarma, Somasekar Garu, and quite a number, K.R. Narayanan from Chennai. So if you have ideas on how we can further strengthen FOSWL, make it more relevant and useful to the community in general and the seniors in particular, do write in to our secretary's email address or direct message me. But one additional objective we have introduced is that the experience and wisdom of seniors who are members of FOSWL should not go waste, and it should benefit the younger generation. And that is the objective of inviting more younger people to these meetings. And to that end, we plan to have a very wide variety of topics from almost all fields of activity. And one such is today's great talk and a great interaction with Ambassador Vinai Thummalapally. May I now call upon our Secretary, Sri Bose Garu, to present the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Subbarao. President of FOSWL, Sri Venkateswara Garu, distinguished speaker of this evening, Ambassador Vinay Thummalapally, members of FOSWL chapters across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. We thank the family members of Sri M.L. Swami Garu for establishing an annual endowment lecture in the name of Sri Swami and Srimati Rangamani Swami. Sri Swami was an inspiring and passionate leader who led from the front. He was one of the first to set up an endowment for Hyderabad chapter for the month of May to mark their wedding anniversary, which is on the 9th of May. It was only befitting that his daughter, Mrs. Sucharita Pokala, shared some thoughts about her mother, Srimati Rangamani Garu, and Sri Swami's life and work. We are glad that their family members could join us today to pay tribute to the inspiration for the founding of FOSWL in the year 2000. Thank you, Sri Somasekar Garu, our Joint Secretary, for supporting the May monthly meetings with logistics sponsorship in the name of your mother, late Srimati Sita Mahalakshmi. We welcome members to come forward to support a logistics sponsorship. This involves donating an amount of Rs 5,000 per year for a designated month in the name of your dear ones. You may email me at the FOSWL Hyderabad email address for details. We thank Sri Dinesh ji of FOSWL USA, Cupertino, California, for rendering the prayer. It is nice to see members of the Mother Chapter joining our meetings, and we truly appreciate it. We are privileged to host the distinguished speaker of this evening, Ambassador Vinay Thummalapally, and thank him for his insightful talk on why does the USA remain the preferred destination for investment and innovation. As he brought out a lesser-known perspective on how the USA works to retain its preeminent position as the innovation capital of the world. We read about the USA being a favored source to raise capital for enterprises all over the world, but fewer of us may have known that the US also has a formal program to attract investment and jobs to its shores. We are even more happy that we have amidst us today the first ever Indian American and a Hyderabadi too to have been appointed US ambassador and probably the only one as on date. Thank you for joining us from Washington DC, Ambassador Tumulupalli, for patiently answering our many questions. Given the present situation of the pandemic, FOSWL Hyderabad will continue to meet on Zoom platform till the situation improves. FOSWL Hyderabad has monthly meetings on every third Saturdays of each month, and I invite all our guests today to join us every month at our meetings. If any of our members would like to suggest the name of a distinguished speaker whom we can invite him to speak on these meetings, you may inform me over the phone or via email. Our forthcoming monthly meetings are as follows. On the third Saturday, 19th June 2021, Dr. Raja Narayanan, Director and Network Head, Clinical Research, LV Prasad Eye Institute, will deliver a lecture on hope in eye care. On the third Saturday, 17th July 2021, Padma Vibhushan awardee Dr. Arya Mashelkar, former Director General of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, will deliver a talk on Gandhian engineering, more with less for more. Once again, it was very nice to meet all of you this evening. We wish you all a relaxing and safe weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, we will meet again on the third Saturday of June on the 19th for our 150th monthly meeting. Good night to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bosgaru,
Good meeting.
and good night. Good day to all of you. I'll now close the meeting. Thank you.
Great meeting.
Good night.